What's up, you guys? Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Explain It podcast. We are your host. I'm Stephen Hunt.
And I'm Ingryd Hernandez.
And we're here to break down all the things when it comes to business, real estate, investing, all the fun stuff, bringing selected guests on that can help explain it to you and explain it to us so we can all learn some fantastic things. And we have an awesome guest on today. And I've known this guest for about 3 years now. Actually, when I joined the SubTo community, he's one of the first people that I'd ever met and that was willing to be helpful to me and try to help me get ahead. So this is such a cool full circle moment, it feels like, because I know he has grown so much. I've grown so much. You've grown so much in all these timeframes that we've all known each other. So really looking forward to bringing this guest on. If you would like to do a formal introduction.
Yes. So this guest is also one of the OGs, I'll say, that I've known for quite a bit too. I grew fond of Mr. Rick Sheldon. I think I actually missed my opportunity to maybe actually do a business with him.
Really?
I think it was during that time we were all kind of exploring what should we do? And he is very obviously a vision-driven integrator, very tech savvy, very much a go-giver. It's all those values that I feel like we enjoy about ourselves that I think he possesses as well. And so, yes, without further ado, the founder of OpenDispo and the CEO, I presume, Mr. Rick Sheldon. Hey.
What's up, Rick?
Hello. Thank you for having me. And speaking of growing, the production value on this podcast has also grown quite a bit since the last time I was on. So,
well, thank you. Yep. We appreciate that. Rick, we're so happy to have you on. There's so much to you, so much to break down, so much to explain. Where do we even start? What do you think?
Well, absolutely. I think, and you know this, as we start working through maturing the way we do business instead of, chicken wire. And I forget, there's some sort of saying around that. Rick has started building out a program that, just like we've matured what our studio space looks like I feel like that's what he's done in the CRM world, where leveraging AI, leveraging what should be automations that somebody who wants to really run their wholesaling company as a true business should consider.
Yes.
So we are OpenDispo customers. Ours is still very much on startup mode, I feel. We just implemented IVR. Nice. Rick, do you want to explain what IVR is?
Yeah, it stands for interactive voice recording, and we're all familiar with it. If you call somebody, you probably hate IVR, honestly, when you call somebody and it's you on the calling end. It's when you call somebody and it's an automated system that says press 1 to connect with sales, press 2 to leave a message, those types of automated branches that they can guide themselves through.
Yeah. But that's how a grown-up business needs to run when you have different team members who are responsible for different things. And so it's why we had to with IVR. So our acquisition company has a community management team, and then the other is the family teams. So we want to make sure they have the right connections when they're reaching out to us. Or you can push 3 and leave a voicemail.
Hey, well, the thing is too, so yes, I agree. I think the normal person would hate IVR. As soon as I even heard IVR was available to us, I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly my favorite thing in the entire world. I worked sales for quite some time, and I've done the cold calls. I've done all the things. And I can tell you right now, my favorite department that I've ever worked in any sales company ever was when I was on the IVR team, because those are people calling you, calling your business, and it's the hottest leads because they have a need right now and they want to talk to somebody right now. So excited. And I'm so cool that it's also integrated within the CRM platform. But we're talking already about some of the nuts and bolts that are inside of that platform. So let's back it all the way up.
Well, actually, before we move on, I wanted to mention one similarity I have in the same way with websites. I'm a nerd. I'm from sales as well, from before real estate. And I feel the same way now. Whenever I see a good website, I'm like, ooh, that is an awesome website. I'm going to take notes. like we like IVRs and websites as business owners, but most people find those things pretty boring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I probably got a little too excited about it, to be fair. So backing it up now to what the heck is OpenDispo? What the heck is a CRM? Like this person is now coming in watching this podcast. They have no idea what a CRM or any of this stuff is. Let's start from the top. How would you explain that, Rick?
Yep, another acronym. So CRM is contact relationship management or customer relationship management, either way you want to go about it. It really boils down to having a place for your business to kind of culminate with all the contacts that you're building, all the relationships that you're building, and make sure that that's not the cell phone of the CEO, for example, so that when you hire your first operator, now you've got to give them your cell phone. You have a CRM so the business can grow. Yeah.
Which, by the way, it's totally okay to start that way. Even Pace shared his cell phone on the Steve Trank show, and I still believe people can go out there and grab it.
I totally agree. There's, CRMs are amazing. I'm of the mindset that it's never too early, even if you're a newbie, especially with some of the cheaper options out here. But that being said, you could also have $1 million business with no CRM. As I know, multiple people who do.
So what would you say is the benefit to having a CRM in that case? Because OpenDispo, you can get real deep on there. There's a lot that you can do. But why would somebody say, hey, I want to have an actual CRM. I want to go through OpenDispo versus I'm just going to have an Excel spreadsheet. I'm just going to manage this in Google Sheets. And I'm just going to, every time I want to do something, I'll put in the person's first and last name and their phone number, and I'll just keep a running list. What do you think are the big differences there? And why should somebody go with the CRM as opposed to just a spreadsheet?
I think if your goal is to build a real sustainable business that you're eventually going to disconnect yourself from the day-to-day operations, it's important to have a lot of standardization. So contacts who are agents may come into the system a different way than contacts who are sellers. And based on how they come in, they're grouped together, they're segmented away from each other. You can automate the follow-ups for each type of contact specifically. So with that, it really opens you up to scaling things out. And like I said, kind of keeping your own cell phone out of the mix so that as you grow your team, they can step in. And, I hear a lot of the times when people are messaging me, they're like, hey, I don't really know if it's Rick or Amna or Danielle or who's messaging us, but whoever it is very helpful. So that's kind of the beauty of it. I don't actually have to message myself, and I can trust that my team will take the advice and knowledge that we've shared with them and deliver that on my behalf to my clients.
Yeah.
Love it. So what I'm hearing you saying is that it's just a more powerful tool to create more standard operating procedures, SOPs for short, for anybody that doesn't know the word SOPs. So it's allowing you to create more SOPs, which in turn is going to produce more efficiencies. Right. So now the amount of labor that we need, like the way I look at this is that, okay, if I have my own spreadsheet, which is totally a method that I've used before in the past, now I have to share the spreadsheet with everybody. I have to hope somebody doesn't delete all the data in there on accident. If I want them to update it, you're creating so many more efficiencies, and you're creating automations within those efficiencies too, so that you're taking another human out of the picture that you may need to have that would have previously probably had to manage all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What has been one of your favorite automations that you feel the CRM can now deliver? And obviously, even the underlying platform that it's on has gone through its own growth. So, like, what's your favorite thing that the CRM could deliver today?
There is the deeper answer, which may, I'm just going to put this out there, but I think this may be a little bit too advanced to really dive into unless you guys want to. But the real value that a CRM can provide is standardizing what triggers KPI events or key performance indicators. So let's say that you're tracking number of leads and how many of those leads did we make an offer to and how many of those offers got accepted. Well, if you just look at those three metrics, a CRM can understand when each of those happened and push it to a data sheet that you could then use to visualize that data and understand conversion rates. And ultimately, you'll understand conversion rates between different lead sources. So that's the deep answer. And there's a lot to that, so we can go into that if you want. But
Oh, dashboards, baby.
I
Dashboards,
love
those
me a good
KPIs,
dashboard.
and
Ooh.
tell me how much time it took. So we
Oh
triggered it at
gosh.
1 a.m. We converted it
Yeah.
at 5 p.m. And
Yeah.
if it's this lead source, we'll have it under contract in less than 12 hours, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a salesperson out there, right? If you're like me and Rick, who came from the sales industry, most of us hate data. Like that's just how it is with salespeople. Let me sell, let me sell, let me sell. But if you understand who you're selling and who is the most likely to convert and what lead sources those are coming through and what marketing dollars are being spent accurately to get you the actual results, you are going to win at a very, very high level. And the only way to do that is through a professional CRM that can actually decipher what's what. This is why, as well, in my opinion, you would not ever want to do the Excel method and have a spreadsheet. Can you do a spreadsheet? Yes, absolutely. If you're just getting started, maybe that's what you want to do, just to track things down. But ultimately, like Rick said, if you want to build a true, real business that you want to scale out, that you want to be able to make a lot of money with, I don't think many of us get into business to say, I'm going to make $40,000 a year and just get by. I've never met an entrepreneur that said that yet. So I doubt that that's any of our visions that are watching this podcast right now. But if you truly want that, you need to know what's coming from where and how fast you're converting those leads. And that's exactly what OpenDispo is providing. And I think it's just such a beautiful tool. Thank you for sharing all that.
Of course.
So Rick, what inspired you to focus on the CRM? Because like what Stephen mentioned, we kind of all got started in the SubTo real estate mentorship community kind of in the around the same time. So what made you deviate to what is maybe a more nerdy thing versus maybe, and I don't think you ever stopped focusing on the real estate side, but it did mean you had to prioritize the nerd stuff before you prioritize the real estate stuff. So what made you go that route?
Yeah, there were a couple of market forces at play, I guess. The first being the year or 2 years leading up to that, I picked up 13 rentals and a couple of wraps. So my balance sheet blew up, but my bank account did not. So I needed to.
I was about to say, I feel like I know the end to this story. Why did you start a business outside of real estate? Yeah, I feel like I get this.
So I had to generate active income. We all love active income. I think we all understand that you have to have active income to support the collection of your assets, which not all the time. I don't want to make it sound like I'm totally, creative finance makes everything possible, of course. But in general, you need active income on an ongoing basis to collect your assets. And for most people, that's wholesaling. Wholesaling is amazing. I love wholesaling. It's just a good marketing and sales business, which is what I really love. But just my skill set, I think, it's like the market value, like you get paid in proportion to the value that you provide, essentially. I think that
proportion to the problems you solve. Right.
Yeah,
so if there's a lot of problems that need solving, it's why business is so amazing.
Yeah.
And it's like the problem that so many people don't have solved. So because of the amount of people that don't understand what a DNS record is and the amount of impact it makes on your business, it's just like the best it's the best way I can provide value to the marketplace.
Yeah, DNS guys do not suck.
Yeah,
right? Like
that's exactly what it means. That's why
Just kidding. It's something with GoDaddy, and I know that my integrator on occasion needs to reconfigure the DNS
records.
whatever that.
Those things can screw up everything. DNS records. I've had some weird situations happen.
Yeah.
So
are you okay?
What I made it.
You want to talk about
it? So what I've heard here, and this is what I love too, and you did something very similar to what I had to do. I had to pivot because I bought all these rentals and I go, now what? Now I have no money and I have things breaking. I have people not paying rent. I have to evict, yada, yada. We all went and got the dream as fast as we could because we're all hard workers. And then all of a sudden we go, wait a minute, I need more money if I want to keep this train rolling. I see how this can be a benefit, but the way I'm doing it right now ain't the move. So you stuck to something that you already knew, that you're already good at, a skill set that you'd already previously acquired, and you used it in a way to service an industry that you were already in. and a community of people that need these services. That's a very similar thing that I did. And I think that's so cool that you relied on that. One thing that I always say to people is, if you're going to start looking to make active income, you mentioned wholesaling being one of those. But if you have skill sets to where you can build out a software, or you can build out, I did a property management business and all this kind of stuff, I always tell everyone, I'm like, you should try to focus on doing something that's in the same book of what you're already doing. So I'm already involved in real estate. So having a property management business just funnels more into my actual business that I'm doing when it comes to the real estate side of things. And that's exactly what it sounds like you've done too, because you do generate your own leads. You do your own deals, you buy more rentals. So all of this is something that's also self-serving to you and funnels back into your business, your overall book, if you will, that you're writing. This is just a different chapter in that book.
Yeah, because you mentioned property management. I'm doing software serving real estate investors. So we're generating active income, but it's not totally disconnected. We're serving the same industry. We're gaining the same knowledge. So here's an example. I have people on my platform focusing on Dispo JV, direct to agent, direct to seller, all the different methods of all those different flavors. So we've perfected, by working closely with them, all these methods. So now that we are turning our acquisition processes back on, I was able to spin up a very dialed in campground and land acquisition platform that we're launching out with Rachel Burnett kind of helping at the helm. So we're able to spin up these things that are just so dialed in from day one because I've done it for others. I've kind of gotten all the testing out of the way without my dime on it.
Right.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
So that's something I want to also lean into about having another business outside of just the typical real estate. I'm going to buy rentals. I'm going to wholesale, right? Outside of that. And you hit the nail on the head here, is what's really cool about what you have is that you don't have to go and do all the work to collect all the data for what you want to be able to accomplish. You can look at what everybody else is doing and you can run their data. Here's the reality, you guys, when it comes to real estate, there's a lot of fugazi out there. There's a lot of people saying, I generate 10 wholesale deals a month and blah, 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 to do 6-figure months consistently. And a lot of people are lying when it comes to that. You, on the other hand, Rick, get to see specifically, actually, that person generated 2 leads. They didn't close either of them. They made $0 that month on wholesale deals, unless it was from some source that I don't know about. That is so cool. And it feeds directly back into your business. Very similar with property management, right? I hear a lot of people talking about how much they make with their rentals. I get to see how their rentals are performing. I get to see how much money was sent out on a monthly basis. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that exit strategy. Everybody I know doing this specific thing right now is really in a lot of pain and it's really slow. So I can make more informed market decisions on what I want to hold, what I want to keep, what I want to do, based off of an entire book of business that we're managing for other people. I think that is so cool and powerful. I didn't even think about that side of it.
Yeah.
That you have all this data. How cool. That gets Ingrid so excited, the word data.
It does go even
literally
further
a director of data management. So
amazing. Nice. I just interviewed a candidate who spoke about data quite fondly. So I'm excited to get her on board. But I wanted to mention there's another angle. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yes. Go ahead. No, please.
Just like another way that it fits in, now that we've got our clients pumping and we can breathe, we've got a good team, we've now developed a JV pipeline that is accessible from within the platform. So now people can send us JV deals. And this leads into my, the bigger evolution, which is like strategic relationships. So I've teamed up with, Andrew Murray, Justin Tumanowski on the Dispo side. I've teamed up with William Yu to run my paid ads, and he's done phenomenally. So I've started referring him to some of my clients. So there's just so much, overlap with all these things. Yeah.
It's crazy how much a business within real estate can get you real estate, get you the things that you're actually wanting, right? Instead of you going out doing all the hard work, you build a service business around real estate, how that can all funnel straight back to you. And then you're generating active income. You're creating this consistent pipeline. People ask me all the time, how do you create so many different business relationships? How do you know all these different people? I'm like, by doing business, by doing the actual thing and having a service. It puts us in rooms of people that we might have not got the chance to meet before, but because they're using our services, now we've got to be able to build a professional relationship where we get to be equals versus me trying to reach out and get that contact and meet with that person, right?
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah, it took about It took about 2 weeks for William and I. Sorry, Ingrid, I feel like I cut you off 3 times in a row. I'm sorry, but I just wanted to say it took about 2 weeks before William and I dropped the formalities of our paid relationship, and we worked out a joint venture where he runs my ads, I build a CRM. There's a ton of synergy. No more payments between us. It's just so much cool stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Well, and it's the genesis of the Who Not How book, right? Like it's if you find the right people with the right values around you, you're going to be able to create those synergies, as you mentioned, and it doesn't have to feel like a burden. Somebody actually told me, I would love for you guys to talk about partnerships at some point, because I was collecting, like, people talk to me like, what do you want us to create topics around? And I think it kind of serves, like, when you have the right systems in place, it actually allows for you to focus more on the relationships, which is ultimately what business is. I don't care what industry you're in. It's really a relationship based anything.
Totally.
In my opinion. The other thing I was going to mention, Rick, is the reality too, is if you are really driven to look at the end in mind, which you guys should always look at the end in mind. Meaning, if I'm going to build this business, what's my ultimate goal? Like, what is ultimately what I want to do? And the reality is, if you don't have a system perspective of building out a business, you will never be able to exit, at least not in a strategic way and not in a profitable way, because nobody's going to want to buy a business that isn't systematized. Or if they do, they're going to get a deep discount on it because it's going to be reliant so much on people. So if you have your people part, good. And then if you have your system part, holy cow, that's where the X really starts getting driven up.
And your bookkeeping's dialed in. Ooh.
Woo. Yeah, for sure.
That's very, very awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So we have a question here. Choosing the right CRM for real estate investors is hard. What should I be looking in a CRM if I'm a newbie, mid-career, or an expert?
So I had a bit of a comment on the previous thing. I'll try to tie this question into that comment, actually, because it's not exactly the answer to this question, but I think it is a good way to approach it. Because you were saying you should focus on building the business in a structured, proactive way, that you understand what your goal is, at least, even if you don't follow that path, you know what you're trying to do. And that comes down to just project management, which a lot of people just start to wing stuff and they don't really have a project management type of mindset. And that's very important, even at every level of the business, including marketing campaigns. Like, don't just start a marketing campaign just to start doing direct mail because you heard about it. You need to have a budget for it, decide are you going sequential marketing or bulk, which bulk provider are you going with, when they respond, where are they going to land, when they do call in, how is the script to handle the call. You have to work out the whole thing before you really I do kind of want to toe both sides of this line, though, because I do agree that you need to absolutely kind of have a plan, but at the same time, sometimes to some degree it is worth just getting started.
Yeah. The sophistication and like the weight of what is required to be a mature business could be all the excuses as to why you don't get started either. And for the record, when I first started in real estate, because I am that person, like literally my role was a data manager. So in order for you to do data management, you do create processes out and you do kind of try to be way more prepared about, like, what is it that you're trying to accomplish. And when you're a newbie in anything, especially in real estate, though, you'll start using that as an excuse to not actually create money making activity. So when I started real estate, I was like, forget it. I'm not going to do what I've always done for my corporate career the last 20 years. I'm actually just going to go and see what sticks and just get it done. And so I honestly, most of my business has just been like spreadsheets and my phone.
Well, I think the one term that you used at the beginning there is like, I think really key. And that's where I got hung up and kind of towed the line was, you said mature business. if you're not a mature business, you don't have to, hold back until you figure out all those different variables and processes. If you're a new business, it is important to just kind of get rolling. But as you mature, it's important to have a process or a goal to continue refining those processes and metric tracking. Like, there's a natural progression whenever I start tracking a new business's KPIs. When you first start tracking it, there's a lot of gaps in the spreadsheet. You have like gaps on where the leads are coming from, and you have to notice the gaps and then go plug the holes. And over the months, you're gonna, make sure that everything's plugged up and everything's being tracked properly. So that's like only a couple month period. But if you extrapolate that over the course of growing your business overall, when you're really early, just go cause chaos. When
Yeah.
you're continuing, just fine tune things as you go.
Yeah.
By the way, we appreciate you saying gaps so often, since our business is called Golden Age Property Solutions, which stands for gaps. Yeah.
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 Awesome.
Acronym is GAPS.
Seniorgaps.com, guys.
Yes.
So yeah, for sure. We'll go ahead and plug that in.
Yeah, I think that there is a very fine line between that too. I do think that you can have both, though, if you are somebody that is willing to do it. Like, at the end of the day, your business, your money making activities are usually only going to be within a certain period of time frames that you're actually able to start doing those things. So I look at this from a business to business perspective, because that's how our business model is set up. Even when it comes to a lot of the real estate stuff that we do, title companies have a time that they close, and they're usually not open on the weekends, right? So that goes the same for most businesses and most of the things that you're going to be doing. There's usually a certain time window of when your money making activities are, and that's what you should be focused on, is your money making activities during that time frame. And then on your off hours, at nighttime, on the weekends, whatever the case is, you should be focused on building out those processes and really start considering and thinking, like, where am I trying to go with this? What does, like Ingryd said, thinking with the end in mind. And I know this all started stemming off from the whole partnership side of things. Ingryd and I have had the opportunity to look at so many different partnerships and see so many people who have had these just, it seems like, failed partnerships over and over again. And when you hear them start talking about the partnerships and the frustrations that they have with each other and what's going on, it's very evident and clear that nobody is starting with any end in mind. Like, where are we all trying to get to? And as somebody with a visionary personality type, I'm like, I start with that. I lead with, this is where I think we can go. This is what it is. This is how I think we can do it. I'd love to know your insight. How can we work together? How can we collaborate to make this actually come to life, versus, hey, we should start wholesaling. I'm going to call some people, you call some people, and then we're going to get OpenDispo, and then things eventually fall apart for people.
Yeah, no, spot on.
Yeah. And honestly, where we're going with our business and our eventual want to franchise, like, we had to know that. So if we're going to franchise, what does that mean? Like, if you actually go look up the definition of a franchise, that means we're going to deliver those SOPs. Like, we are, like, that's what people are paying for, is where would we grab the data for that specific requirement, right? Like, how do you know where to plop your office so that is like in a specific area where it makes sense for your goals? Like, all of these little things, like, if I didn't know that's where we were going in the very end, then starting from where we are and going forward could have been, I don't know, maybe not as fun, because we don't know where we're headed.
Right.
So knowing that is, go ahead.
Not only that, but franchising in particular is a great example, because aren't there 3 things you're only allowed to have 2 of? Name, systems, and financing, or I don't remember the third item, but there's a few elements. And if you have all 3 of those being transferred to a franchise, then it's an illegal franchise. So if you didn't start with the end in mind, you would possibly be directly violating the franchise laws.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have this, oh shit moment where you're like, everything we were working towards, throw it all out the window.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. Perfect example.
Yeah. Fantastic. So Rick, totally up to you. If you would want to share anything with the audience, like any sort of small presentation, or if there's a landing page, I know you and I worked on landing pages before, that you think it would be favorable to share with the audience, I'm happy to share. And while we look things up, because you could see like the colors are changing in front of Rick's face. Everybody, we are don't forget to like, subscribe. Make
Hit
sure
that bell icon, you guys, so you can get notified every time we have a post.
For sure.
So you can jump in on the
Yeah.
next live. And as well as, please, if you are watching this, it looks like we have some viewers right now. Send us your questions. Let us know what you want to hear about. And it doesn't have to be specifically OpenDispo related or CRM related. It can be related to business in general. Rick has a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
So please ask away.
Check this out.
Wow.
You guys can see it, I presume. I can't see you any longer, but I think I can.
Oh, yeah.
follow.
Yeah, we can see it.
It looks great.
Just let me know if there's any questions because I can't see the.
I didn't know that was your social security number, Rick. I'm writing it down right now.
Let me just go to my business profile and share my EIN and all.
Oh, he's got his blood type on there too.
Just kidding. So we're seeing contacts. Yeah, we're seeing you. So this is the OpenDispo view of the CRM.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of things. I'll jump into really quickly the really important things I'd mentioned to you. This might be the type of stuff that you would want to track when it comes to KPIs. Is things like this. Once it loads, this is actually a Google product that's embedded here into my platform. So Looker Studio is this data visualization tool that we use. It's really, really cool. And we can build charts like this that show, of the leads that come in, how many got processed. And by the way, this is fake data. That's why there's such a...
Yeah, I was like, you have a problem.
Yeah. I hate to break it to you live.
We have a leak. No, but, we have leads to process calls. That's like, how many of them did you get on that first call where you gathered all the conditional questions and all that stuff? And then of those, how many contracts did we get? So that tells us how many leads does it take to get a contract. And of those contracts, how many closed? That's a stat that a lot of people, miss out on. And this table below shows how we can break it down by lead source. So whereas this purple row is a culmination of all these numbers, you can see the individual breakdowns. So you're really looking for an ROI per lead source. And, this is what really makes that possible. So wanted to start there. But like I said, that's really a Google product that's just embedded into here from the visualization of the data that we get out of the system. So what more, the newbie type of level, like where we should really start as far as what you would use a CRM for is maybe contacts. So we have a bunch of contacts. Over here to the right, you might see some tags. This one's seller. So they might have seller tag or buyer or JV partner or lender, investor. So you can have all of your different types of contacts segmented properly. And then you could use these tags to create filtered lists and then reach out to them in bulk or through automations over time. And those are really cool. And basically the goal is to get deals, real estate opportunities from them. So when we do, we have a good way of just dropping a quick deal into the pipeline. So a good form that you can use at a party or, because you can have a domain like deal.opendispo.com and have these websites more accessible on the fly as well. But just dropping leads in whenever you need to is how you grow your database. Or you can grow that in bulk by like importing bulk lists and doing more of a, machine gun approach.
Yeah. Especially if you've, again, because the expectation is that you're maturing into something like this, right? You realize the pain of managing a spreadsheet. And if you're working with multiple people and you need to keep them updated on like where things are, for example, even private money lenders, right? As you're updating the process of maybe fixing and flipping and things like that, you want to give them a status, but maybe you don't want to spend so much time, but something to keep a touch point, stay in touch. Like this is called relationship management, right? That CRM for a reason. You got to manage something. So if that usually means communication at the end of the day.
Yeah, so, I think we may have kind of glossed over that, which I actually try not to do because some people do take that for granted, which this is your communication device. Like we didn't say that explicitly, but this is where you can send texts and emails and phone calls and of course WhatsApp messages. You could also integrate tools like Facebook business pages and Instagram DMs. All those conversation methods can all show up here chronologically.
That's so good.
Oh, that's great.
Instagram.
I didn't know about that.
I may have to plug. I didn't know that either, actually.
Well, if you guys integrate those, you guys are going to see each other's inboxes. So FYI.
I'm like, put those ugly pictures away. No, I'm kidding. No, that's No, mine are like legitimate questions, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a 2-hour call. Like, yeah. So I don't. Other than my husband, maybe he's a little inappropriate, but that's about it.
Well, so, the next thing is once we've got leads in here and we've got opportunities moving through the pipelines, like you said, we need to really nurture those relationships. Let me explain a very common scenario in the acquisition world. You have a new lead, and your team is all over it. They're calling, they're texting, they're hitting them up, and they're just unable to get a hold of that person. You're like, my assistant just cold called this person and told me they told them they would be willing to sell. Now they pushed the lead in. Why aren't they answering us? It happens all the time. That's where a very important concept of a discovery process comes into play. This is like, okay, a lead came in and we think it's a lead, but we've been unable to really verify that and have our process call. So discovery is going to keep it warm just by shooting off quick, messages. Hey, we'll give you a cash offer. So that's something I wanted to mention is the discovery process.
Okay, so hold on. Let me reel this back a little. So I got so excited and I'm like, I'm gonna get all the VAs calling all the sellers. And so essentially it would be like somebody coming in and saying, yep, we've called these sellers and they said, yes, I want to sell. But because we know better, sometimes that yes doesn't really mean yes. They're maybe just trying to get you off the phone. And so this allows you to kind of nurture it a little bit more before you really get all excited about whether or not this is something that's going to actually turn into a deal. So you have a discovery phase. Does that mean then you have some automations already aligned to it so that you don't have to put too much time and effort into it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. So if I go back to that screen, do you see it again?
Yep.
If I click into here, there's a couple things that happen actually. So we have it. So there's like a tagging system just to keep things organized. So there's this contact would be tagged as discovery. You click into the contact record and it would have been pushed here into the discovery sequence, which is what sent this out. So it's going to be pretty aggressive at the beginning, email and text every day for a week. And after a week, it goes to every other day. And then after the second week, it goes to weekly. But a couple things to keep in mind there. One is this is going to automate the texts and emails and maybe even ringless voicemails. But the real gold is when your team keeps calling all day, every day, because the teams that make the most money are the ones that are not only relying on these automations, but it allows that team to only have to call and they can trust that the prospect is getting called, emailed, texted, voicemails. They're getting a lot of nurturing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're getting more bang for their buck. And I think I said I had two topics.
That's awesome. So it's a drip campaign.
Yeah.
You can set up a drip campaign then in that sense towards like, cool, I got this lead that came in. And I'll try to relate it back to how we would probably use it as well, just so it makes more sense for even myself, right? Very drippy. Lots of drip. That's how they describe me.
Okay. Not me. I don't have a lot of.
No. So for our business model, for example, we do target a lot of businesses. We get a lot of referrals from businesses as well, but that's usually an initial touch point, which we're initiating. Usually those referral sources aren't just reaching out to us for any reason, right? We're the ones that are usually going and getting that lead. We put their information, their contact information in because they have given us a business card. Perhaps at that point in time, you can add them in there and you could put them, let's say, in that discovery field to where now they're set up to a certain drip until they have a referral available. So it could be set up in some way like that to just stay in touch and keep those relationships alive.
Yeah, for sure. And that's exactly what we want to do with you, Rick. We're slightly more because our target audience, I'm going to say a word that might be offensive and that's not my goal, but understand this, everyone. I'm just telling you like how our business is designed. But when you're doing a business to business contact, your level of communication is a little bit more professionalized. So we have to be very cautious of what we're saying, how often we're saying it, and what that content actually is, right? Whereas talking to a seller and saying, hey, you let us know that you wanted to sell your house. We would be more like, when can we make the next appointment to have a discussion about how we helped Susie last week with, and kind of orient it back to how we're serving our seniors, which is part of our design. I will say this is the part that we need a lot more building out. So we're just getting started in that space. So we are looking to during our relationship with Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll actually tie this back to the question that I indirectly answered that last time about the newbie. What should a newbie look for in a CRM? I think this also ties into that, because what you guys have stepped into is a great example of this. You've stepped into a CRM that is pre-built. If you move somebody to discovery, it would nurture them with residential seller-facing discovery messages. But so that's the thing. You, as a newbie, you might want to get a CRM that does have things pre-built with the caveat that they should be editable. So you guys already have the framework, and now we just have to go swap out the messages, put more delay in between the messages. The marketing system, the framework of the automations is already in place. So I think that's a good thing to look for if you're a newbie, is a system that allows you to not have to create a bucketing system that really helps you segment motivated sellers, because you may not even know what those segments should be yet and how to nurture them in those segments.
Totally. And really a business like ours doesn't necessarily exist right now, at least not in the sophistication and solutions that we can offer. That's right. I got a big old ego about it because I think we're the coolest. And so and we haven't had this discussion yet, but I'm like, it only makes sense that we should have more topics with you about this, Rick, about like, okay, how could us partnering up with OpenDispo a little bit more to say, how can we functionalize the features that already exist? So my previous job was a data management director, right? And what we did was functionalize existing CRMs. We would talk about or databases. We would talk about what we were looking for and could the existing features, so the in the box functionality is what we used to call it, because I don't want to do any customization. Like, customization makes it difficult when you, and forgive me, I may be speaking above people right now, but when you have a CRM, and if you want to be such a unique butterfly and you customize an automation or a certain function, the minute the platform has to update for whatever reason, all of a sudden your customization is caca, and you have to put more time and attention to test it. So it takes like too much out of your day. So whenever you're thinking about a CRM, really think about how do you stay in the box with what features are already there, because the more you get out of the box, honestly, it may not bode well for you.
That situation that Ingrid just brought up will actually happen at the worst possible time.
100%.
Always, by the way, too. So as soon as that system no longer works, it'll only be when there's a huge need for that system. So
yeah. You know what that reminded me of, though, is I have on October 1st, I'm introducing a challenge. It's just going to be a live event showing how to systematize your offer delivery from OpenDispo, which what you just mentioned, Ingrid, is like, how do we stay in one box? There's a big inefficiency of kind of having your deal, unless you use a TC, then this doesn't really matter. But if you're doing your own contracts, then having to go grab the property details from PropStream, go put them into the template in DocuSign, then wait on your inbox to see when it's signed, that's all fine, but it's disconnected. Whereas what I'm going to talk about on this event on October 1st is how to use OpenDispo or any other go high level white label and actually start to build out a way of sending contracts like quickly and easily. And they're e-signature contracts that just get linked into your contact record once they're executed. Actually, William and I just signed a JV agreement on that.
That is, for people out there, do you know how much time this takes? Like, he sent me, and hopefully you can easily do amendments. Can you easily do amendments?
Yeah, you just import as many templates as you want, addenda, amendments, all of these different contracts.
So Steven sent me a text yesterday. Hey, I need, in the 3 little dots of like very not enough information. And he's like, hey, I need an amendment for this. And I'm like, okay. Because I'm like our team's TC essentially. Anywho, so I love it.
Here's what you can even do. What I'm going to really get into on that call is a way of sitting on the contact record page and then having a button up on top that says, I want to send a contract. And it'll pop open a pop-up and it'll say, are you trying to send a cash purchase and sale, an LOI, an assignment contract, an addenda, an amendment, whatever you're trying to do, you can click that option, and then it'll take you to a follow-up survey that asks only the questions that are directly relevant for that contract type. And then by submitting the survey, it will activate an automation to launch out the contract with those variables populated.
Awesome.
With a final approval step though, right? Like a quick review?
No, but that is important. I have a differentiation. If I'm going to send a creative purchase and sale, I don't send it this method. I send it the old there's a DocuSign-esque method of sending the contracts within the platform that does not revolve around this, shotgun approach.
Shove it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you can still go to like the contract section and send it out like you're familiar. And I do that with like the complicated agreements.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we could talk about it. I think everything is automatable. I understand the should you versus you could. But I feel like creative finance can be automatable. It's just asking the right questions at the right functional time. But
so would this be set up in a way like a form fillable situation? So I want to give you an example here. The way like I said, that we get our business is through businesses, and then we go meet with these families and we're having that conversation. Now, the way that I've been doing it is I print out a bunch of contracts. I don't use DocuSign all the time because I work with a lot of seniors, and the majority of 85-year-olds that you meet aren't super savvy on how to get into their Gmail and how to do DocuSign, even though it's super simple. Some of them don't even have an email. They've never even heard of what an email is. So I just bring in paper contracts, and that way we can get everything knocked out right then and there. Would it be something to where it's form fillable as well, to where I could bring an iPad with me, tap my little app for my OpenDispo, create the contract, and I'm going purchase price $150, this, and then they can tap at the very end, say, okay, now all you have to do is click here to sign, and now we have the contract.
Yeah, exactly. I'll show you these couple of methods because the way you just explained it is what I refer to as like the DocuSign method. Even though it's within OpenDispo, it's that traditional type of filling and sending of the contract that we're mostly familiar with. It's not quite as form fill as you just mentioned there. You would still have to send it out as a link that they would have to click and kind of add their signature to it. But before I move over to that traditional way, this is the method I was referring to first, which is from the contact page, you just click a button and it's going to ask what type of contract. And then based on the type of contract, in this, Ingryd will show you that we're not too far off from that purchase and sale agreement with this type of setup. It pre-populates a lot of info, and it goes, and we use logic so that it could infer whether this is a cash, SubTo, seller finance, hybrid. So we say, what's the offer price? How much is the seller getting at close? Is there a seller carry involved? So if yes, it's either seller finance or hybrid. If no, it's either cash or SubTo. So let's say yes and fill in the details to the seller.
And I think we're answering Nicole's question sort of in the way that Stephen kind of reoriented. In that, yes, you can't. This is iPhone and iPad friendly, yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Very good. So there you go, Nicole. Good question.
I do love that, having it be iPhone or iPad friendly, because there are a lot of situations where maybe a seller does give you that verbal when you're sitting there face to face with them having a seller appointment. And that would just be so nice to be able to have that readily available, even if you're going out door knocking, like Nicole mentioned, or doing any other different forms of doing this, just because instead of being like, oh, I'm going to go home and I'll send you this DocuSign, and then wait, now they're not answering. And then 3 days goes by and they're like, well, actually, I thought about it. But if you're there in that moment and you can get it knocked out, how convenient, how awesome.
Time kills deals. Exactly. Time kills deals. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Cool. Well, Natalie has the question. Talking about in the box, how hard is it actually to learn how to use this? Well, I have to spend a lot of time to use this.
Yeah. So there's a term in sales that I'm sure Mr. Hunt is pretty familiar with, which is bracketing. And it's basically the idea of having a solution for everybody. And I finally did it.
You cracked that nut. All right.
Yeah. I kind of pulled the whole Tesla model where I started off kind of premium, catering to people with well-established businesses that care about the data and the metrics. And, we just went after a very involved, high complex type of scenario. And then over time, we've stripped out a bunch of the complexity. But with that being said, it's still complex on our high, our core offer. But what I've done recently is I've done a good job, I think, of bracketing to give a new offer. So for now, just $1 per year, we have another CRM, and I'll actually just drop the link here in the chat for that.
And forgive me, I just noticed that you have the private chat for the
Whoops.
events thing. So I'll be happy to share that. I didn't.
Yeah, just go
I was
ahead and do
so
that.
encapsulated by all the things you were showing me that I didn't see that.
Maybe
Okay,
you can
so
share both of those, but the dollar, the bracketing is like the $1 per year CRM is a perfect fit for people who may be asking a question like that. It's like, I'm kind of new to a CRM. I may become overwhelmed and I don't want that. The $1 per year account is $1 per year, so it's easy entry point. And with that, we've had to make it so we don't spend so much time supporting it. So to do that, we've removed a lot of the complexity. So it's perfect for somebody as a newbie who wants a cheap system without a lot of complexity, but it does have all the core features that you can grow into. So you've still got the contract sender, the pipelines, you have fewer pipelines, fewer workflows, but you still have pipelines and workflows, if that makes sense.
I love somebody's
That's
been
really
reading
awesome.
Alex Hormozy. I have to believe
I
it.
was literally about to say, I'm like, oh, it sounds like the Hormozy method. Yeah, you start off with your one product, sell, make sure it works, proof of concept. Now let's start expanding within the same wheelhouse of what we're already doing.
Yeah,
that's where the paid ads with William are coming in, the JV with Andrew. I feel like those are not quite products, but similar idea.
Yeah. So this is fantastic. And you heard it here, guys. If you want to explore without having such a huge commitment, I think I can do $1 a year. I mean, what's up? Yeah. For the record, we're just we are such big fans of OpenDispo that we already paid our year's worth of dispoing. So absolutely. I again, I've often said this is sometimes you invest in the jockey versus the horse. And I think, Rick, you're the kind of jockey people should feel good about investing with. So 100%.
Yeah,
Don't
I
you dare
guess you
cry.
put your money where your mouth is when you helped me buy the house that I'm in by co-signing for me. And that was such a blessing.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, well, you're welcome.
I didn't know this.
I didn't not that we talked about it, Rick, but like I don't want to put people's info out there without first, having alignment. But yeah, no, I mean,
yeah, of course.
Here's the funny part. So Rick and I both share the same bookkeeper. So I had he like opened Dispo. He was an open book. So he's like, look, you can see how successful my business has been running. You can see that I have the liquidity to be a homeowner. And once I had that exposure, I was like, why wouldn't I? I've already gotten to know Rick as an amazing human being. I already know he has a lot of the shared values that I have. And then it was a conversation with my husband. And you know what's funny, Rick? This was the very last deal that I could do because I was let go from my job a week later. So I would not, had we had any significant delays, I would not be in a position to sponsor it.
Yeah, that would have been rough.
Yeah.
But
so
we're here now. We made it. It's all great.
Yeah,
and I
we made it through.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
wow, that's awesome.
The Natalie, though, I was late. Why $1 a year? Why just $1?
So we've kind of alluded to the fact that I can monetize a few different ways. We have JV services. So the more people on the platform, the more people know me, the more my reputation grows, my credibility grows, the more deals are flowing through the system, the more opportunities are going to flow through my JV pipeline. I feel grateful for the community and what Ingryd here, everybody else in the community has helped me get here. So just trying to make it very accessible for everybody.
I'm gonna break everything Rick just said down into one word, and the word he's trying to say here is volume. The less cost, the less barrier to entry is going to give you the most amount of volume. So if you have a fantastic product and you can offer that product for little to no money and people can just start using it, you start to create volume of people coming over to you to start working with your system. When you have that amount of people, Nicole, as well, it's the same thing with property management. We're cheaper than every other property management company out there. And that's not what we're relying on to keep the lights on. Just like Rick's not relying on the $1 a year to keep the lights on for what he's doing. It's your ability to now convert that person into other products and other services that you may have to offer because they're already bought into the initial product and service or offering that you have to begin with.
Yeah.
And if they want to expand on that and grow past that, now they can, and it's easier because they've already got the proof of concept of using that CRM, right?
Yeah, and full transparency, you'll notice that as soon as you sign up, because I offer you right away for my team to set up your A2P compliance and set up your phone numbers for you for a small fee. So
Yeah.
you don't have to, but that's exactly what he's talking about. There's other ways that people can get value. So don't worry about me. It's not a gotcha type of situation. It's just a situation that I'm confident I can get enough value elsewhere from.
Yeah, if you're looking to just get started and you just want a CRM to play around in and have some fun, $1 just to get in, I mean, that's awesome. But think about that too, right? If you could get 1,000 people at $1 that come in, but now you have another little special thing that you can offer those people. You see what the most common pain points are by looking at the data and the KPIs. Now you go, well, now I have this add-on that people can put on here, this AI automation for $15.99 a month on top. You can now that's an easy, I'm only paying $1 a year for this. I'll just get that $15.99 little add-on. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, I just got 800 out of those 1,000 people to sign up for this extra add-on. That's 15, 16 bucks a month times 800. Wow. Like you can start to make really big impactful changes. I did the math on this with property management. Even if we could just generate another $20 to $30 per property that we were working with, how much of an impact that would make. And it's thousands and thousands of dollars every single month because you have the volume and you have the scale of how many people are in there.
You heard it here first. I have to go find my invoices and make sure there's no sneaky $20 or $30 in there. I'm just kidding.
But then you apply that on average to a scaled up company or a scaled up multifamily portfolio, for example. And then that just compounds like crazy when you consider that value is an easy equation. Value equals NOI divided by cap rate, or the NOI times a multiple equals the value. So as you add NOI to either a multifamily portfolio or a business, it makes a massive impact on the value of that asset.
Right. And this is something where, again, bookkeeping came into play. We talked about this earlier, came into play when you were looking to be a co-signer with Rick. Even he could show you all the numbers and everything that's going in there, but bookkeeping, having balance sheets, having everything in your company set up and tracked appropriately. Now you can start to take a look at what those opportunities are. Okay, I have 300 clients. I have X amount of this, whatever. What could I do tomorrow that I could implement so that I could start generating an extra $5,000 to $10,000 a month?
It's the top number or the bottom number. And so when you're first starting, you're always focusing on that top because it says, how much revenue can I generate? And then when you already have a captured audience, which is what Rick has in OpenDispo, now he can focus on the bottom number. And as we've always learned, your bottom number, that matters, in my opinion, the most, because that's the number you're going to take home and take to the bank. So they're just completely two different focuses, but I love this. It's so wonderful to witness how Rick's business is evolving, right?
So cool.
Focus on the top meant building out the process, building out the automations, building out how this can best serve the biggest open ocean out there of folks. Bottom line is now way more particular and value driven within that box. So that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Salesforce, just another CRM to kind of bring up here too. Salesforce isn't making all their money from all the people that are spending $25 a month to get the bare bones basic thing that they have. They have now included how many different product services, their own freaking coding system and software.
Actually, that's one reason I don't like Salesforce.
Right.
It takes years to really
develop and make it good.
My experience more corporate, right? Their developers were one of the most expensive developers that you could have because there wasn't enough of them. And it was so unique to their platform. So not a huge fan of Salesforce because of that. And this is where we can nerd out a little bit. Most strategies for tech companies is how do you build it out in a more self-service model? Because a more self-service model means less staff that you have to go and help them with.
Right.
So,
Right.
uh-huh.
And that's the sales point part for a lot of SaaS companies that are out there too. But companies that are trying to maximize the amount of revenue that they're making, Amazon's great at this, Salesforce is great at this, is that they start creating all of the resources within the actual company itself to where you can't go anywhere else. You have to have AWS for certain things with Amazon. You have to be able to be a Salesforce engineer to get anything done. You can't go to your friend that does Python coding or C++ coding or anything like that. You have to use their people or have somebody that's educated and knowledged on that one thing.
For sure. And before, because by the way, boys, we're already at 2.
Oh, wow.
And we want to respect Rick's time. Nicole did ask, can she create a form that's clickable so I can send that to the buyer for the properties I put them under contract? Can I create a form?
Yes, that's an example of something that in the core offer, don't worry about it. It's built with automations and pipelines tied to it already. On the $1 per year offer, you've got all the capabilities you'll need to build that out as you wish, but it's not built in there. Part of the removing the complexity. You know, I don't want to overwhelm people on that plan. So you can get in there and you can navigate to the form section, the funnel section. You can build a website, drop the form on it, tie your domain to the funnel, and boom, you're good to go.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Well, before we wrap things up, I would love for us to go through really quickly with your event. Do you want to take us on here and kind of what this is and how we can maybe help send people your way?
Well, that event link will be good forever. I'm going to do events till I die on that link, and we'll always update it.
Or until you sell your business, Rick, or until you sell your business. Sorry.
Yeah, that too. But until then, you know, the event up at the top of that page will always be the next one. And at the moment, the next one is called Automated Offers. And it's really going to be more of a challenge that I'm going to run a few live events over the course of October. If you go to that, you sign up, I'm going to just remind you for each event, unless you no longer want reminded. But on the events, we're going to go over how to build out the first method, the easy way, the DocuSign type of method of getting your contracts imported, set up, and ready to send out, kind of the traditional way that we're used to. And then going deeper and building out that contact button with the form and the surveys and the workflow that automatically sends those out. Wow. So that we have like a good system ready to like sit there, call agents, and make offers as we go.
Look at this.
So I'm sharing your event landing page.
That looks so good.
Thank you.
Super cool. And guys, like what Rick builds out is not unique to just him, just because he's like the owner of OpenDispo. Like you can literally look at this and be like, Rick, how do I copy and paste this so that I could do it for my own self? You know?
I'll give you that template. I have no, I don't mind. You can have my colors and everything.
Oh, yeah. Come on, Hormozy.
That's so cool. I know. It's so giving, so giving. So guys, if you're out there and you want to learn more about OpenDispo and kind of orient yourself with the kind of really service and value that Rick can provide, go out there, sign up for OpenDispo, events.opendispo.com and check it out. This is great. And since you say you're going to do more of these events, you should probably bookmark this. Check it out, once a month or so and see what else he's got going on. So this is great. Yeah. Good for you. Yeah. I love it.
And I'll update the date on that event after that next one when we hop off of here, because I noticed that they both said October 1st. So really what we do is the first and third Tuesday of every month is when I do those.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, Rick, thank you so much for being on here with us. We really appreciate you.
Truly, you're such a wealth of knowledge to us, to everybody that's watching, everybody that's going to be watching this as well. So thank you so much. We love OpenDispo. We're so excited to really get it fully integrated into our systems and everything that we've been doing. Just so excited. And it's so impressive, everything that you've been able to build and you're continuing to build. And just so excited to continue watching this journey.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
And Rick, before we send everybody off, if people want to get a hold of you, they want to, tag you in their new OpenDispo posts showcasing that they've gotten OpenDispo, where would they find you?
So there's actually a good place to go to grab my grab all my socials. instead of listing them all out, I'll just put this link in the chat because, well, actually, maybe I can't get in there, but I'll put it in the private one and maybe you can throw it over there. So
Sure,
this
sure.
link will take you to a thing that we've got going on where you can kind of get more notified. You can get notified about all these things that we've talked about and just network with other people who are interested in using CRMs or specifically Go High Level or OpenDispo. So
Yeah.
within there, I've got a profile and you can just grab all my social links, but really it's usually just my name, Rick Sheldon. And then on Instagram and Twitter, it's Rick Sheldon _REI.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rick, for coming on our podcast. We definitely want to have you as a regular, especially as new features and functionality come out in the CRM, selfishly, so that we can orient ourselves with it and make sure that we're leveraging it as much as possible. So thanks, Rick. Really appreciate it. So, and for everybody out there, remember that the Explain It podcast is here every week on Wednesday, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Arizona time. So we will catch you next week.
See you next week, guys.
See you guys.